Good morning, everyone. How are you? It's Wednesday, I think. Yeah, Wednesday. And I'm excited because I have Gigi Engle coming to join to chat today. And I was just actually getting ready to hit go live. And then I noticed a message from Gigi saying she was looking for the link. So I sent it back to her. Let's hope she gets it soon. Ta-da! I hear Gigi. Hello.
Hello, hello.
How are you?
Very good. I'm trying to figure out how to record my screen. Okay, there, I got it.
Okay. And I'm yeah, we're live. I let me pop in who you are on here so people know. How are you
So
doing?
I look a lot more wrecked than I thought I did. I thought I was pulling off like the cute headband thing, but whatever.
I
That's not
like it.
important.
I like it.
Thank you. I was like,
Quarantine looks, right?
yeah, I was like, haven't washed my hair in like 5 days. Look like cool.
There you go. All right.
Yeah, good.
It's
Your hair,
quarantine.
meanwhile, looks like so shiny and lovely.
Well,
I'm
I
like,
have a ring light here and the if you see the silver there, I'm letting it
I mean,
all come out, man.
I think that's fabulous.
Quarantine looks. I've been like heavy on I mean, you can see the stripes, right? Like there's one there's one there. But it's
Live
vitamin
and let live,
C.
I say.
Yeah, what vitamin C, baking soda, dandruff shampoo, like slowly trying to pull the color out. Because when we get out, I want to be able to just be silver again.
Yeah, respect. I love that.
How are you? My
I
goodness.
am good. How are you doing?
Yeah, I'm good. We're still, I mean, I think May 31st is when we're supposed to get out, but I've been hearing rumblings of San
May
Francisco going later.
31st. I don't think I'm ever getting out of here. Like, they're not. Oh, shit. Oops. I just spilled something all over myself. Classic. It's really going with this vibe right now. It's like,
There you go.
now I've spilled on myself. But I don't think they're ever letting us out of here. Like, I'm pretty sure they're not.
Really?
Yeah, they're just like,
I hope, but
I mean,
okay.
they're saying they said they like laxed some of the restrictions, and
Yeah.
it's literally like it didn't change anything. It was like you can stay outside for longer, and we were like, cool. Oh.
Okay.
Yeah,
So
I was like,
go
no,
ahead.
go ahead. Let's stop talking about this. It's so depressing.
Okay. So I want to talk about your book because
Okay.
I've been reading
Yeah.
it and I love the voice. I love how you're like, no fucks given.
There are no fucks to give.
Right? So
Yes.
I have a bunch of questions, notes for myself that I wanted to ask you, but I want to have the people who are watching this and the people who will watch it later learn about you. Tell them who you are. Tell them about Gigi.
Sure. I mean, I'm a certified sexologist and sex educator, but my main gig could say is I'm a journalist and I specialize in sexual health, and that's kind of how the book became a thing. As I like began writing, got a job at Elite Daily, which was kind of like a like new millennial like kind of hipster millennial company. We're kind of like writing all this content. It was a bit of a content farm, and like I was allowed to pretty much write all the weird raunchy sex things that I wanted to. Like nobody, I had like no one was censoring me. My editor was my editor was very chill. She kind of just like let me like roll with it, so I was able to just kind of like really lean into just being like as wild and like no fucks given as I wanted, because that was kind of like my whole vibe. That's how I've always been. And so yeah, it was like a good place to develop my voice. And then I was like writing all these like really personal like stories as like evidence and like as like ways to bring in to articles, and I was like, I bet I could write like a book about it, like an advice book.
Yeah.
And so I started writing my book like by just sort of recounting all of my like slutty stories from like yesteryear and definitely at the time present. And when I was certified in sex education, this is getting like even crazier. Like I'm trying to fix it and it's getting worse. It's like, no, this is not working out. I'm doing my best here. So
You're totally fine.
Yeah, I'm like, great. I'm like, and and so then, okay, so yeah, my book. So then I like got this book deal because I was like, oh, I'm gonna kind of mold, like fuse my kind of like no fucks given attitude and all my weird stories. And then like I have all this advice that I need to give all these people because like I would get all these emails, like mostly women and girls who were like asking me all these questions that I thought were very obvious because I kind of came from a pretty like sex positive background and like
Okay.
already had a bunch of sex toys and was like, oh, I didn't realize that like people didn't know what their body, like what was up with their bodies. And like I had like been through a lot of slut shaming, but hadn't even really like
Yeah.
realized that that's what it was until
Yeah.
later. And so I was like, oh, I really need to like write this stuff down because every single time I write an article and every single time I post something, I get like so many comments and people coming to me being like, oh my God, where was this advice when I was growing up? Or like, oh,
Yeah.
I never thought of that.
I
And
never
like to this
realized that.
day,
Yeah.
yeah, I was like, this belongs in a book. I should really write this stuff down. And I didn't even expect the book to have the impact that it had, I guess, like because it's like you want to just not get yourself too excited, you know. But like
Yeah.
I've gotten like amazing feedback from people who are reading it, and like really a lot of women and girls who are my age and younger. I've had a lot of moms reach out who are like giving it to their daughters who are like going off to college and are like, this is the book, like one of the only like practical sex advice books that I would actually give to my kid because like
Uh-huh.
she'll actually read this and it's really
Yeah.
helpful.
And
And
it's speaking a
yeah,
language they can hear, right?
exactly. I mean,
Mhm.
look, I mean, I've definitely matured past the book as far as I'll reread my book sometimes and be like, well, I swear to God, I think I was like trying to say fuck just to say it at certain points. Like I thought I was being like very real and definitely real in the moment, but now
Yeah.
looking back, and I still curse a lot. I'm like a curse queen. But like
Yeah.
looking back, I was like, this didn't like need 3 fucks and like 3 sentences right here. But you know, live and let live,
Editing yourself
right?
now. Yeah.
Yeah, it's like now I'm learning. So when I write a second book, if I write a second book, it'll still be raunchy, but it probably won't be like as ranty.
Tone back the fucks.
Yeah, just a little bit though. Just a little bit though.
Well,
Gotta stay on
okay.
brand.
Yeah, true. When you started writing it though, who was it for? Like,
It
because
was
most of the people that are paying attention to my stuff are parents. So
yeah.
who would this book be
I
for?
never thought it would be read by parents, but I mean I've found that it's become accessible to pretty much like every woman everywhere, like regardless of and any like regardless of age. But it was
Mhm.
when I was writing it, I originally my thought was that it was going to be kind of this like millennial slutty party girl anthem.
Yeah.
That was like, and I hadn't originally leaned towards it being like a super focused on the sex education portion of it. I was
Mhm.
kind of like, oh, it'll be more, I thought of it as being more like personal essays, I guess is kind of like how I
Hmm.
originally thought it was going to be.
Mhm.
And then as I was writing it more and also like studying sex education, I was like, oh, actually my stories like help to illustrate like actual concrete lessons that people need. So I was like, okay,
Yeah.
so maybe it's not so much a slutty party girl anthem book, but it's more like everyone has sexuality and this is relatable to all women who would want to be empowered and feel like good about their bodies and not feel trapped by sexual shame and stigma. Pretty much
Yeah.
everyone with a sexuality, I could say.
There you go. Well, there were definitely some things that were relatable as I read it. I mean, certainly I went through a hoe phase after my divorce. And I wanted to talk a little bit about a couple things that like they're toward the end of the book. The once a cheater, always a cheater, right?
Mm-hmm.
We always hear that.
Yeah, I mean,
Talk to us a little
that's
bit about
actually,
that.
I would love to talk about that chapter. So that's actually, so that was a very, I feel like my views on that, I don't think I realized how universal it was coming out to sound, kind of like I was talking about like, it sounds like I'm talking about like literally every person in the world. But I think what I meant, what I was thinking at the time is at the time when I was writing it was very much like for people who were like dating, who were like in their 20s.
Yeah.
And my whole thought was like, if someone cheats on you, like, and you're in a relationship with them and you're like, 25 and like don't forgive them and get back together with them. Like they're a scumbag. They just showed you that they suck. Like, you don't have to deal with that. Take off. But like now that I'm getting older and now that I'm studying sex therapy, it's like, and and now that I've lived more life, even though I'm 29, it's not like I'm I'm not some like sage like woman. Like I have a lot more life to live before I can be giving that kind of advice. I think that's honestly like that's a big portion of the book is like I guess my biggest critique of my own book is kind of like I'm in a different place in my life where like I definitely thought I knew everything about everything when I was writing that thing.
Yeah, of course, right? I mean, we
I
write
mean,
what we know.
I was 25. It's like that's what I thought. I was like, I know all of this stuff. And like cheating is always going to be a deal breaker and you should leave them immediately.
Okay, so well that reminds me of a couple things I wanted to ask too. How did you get your start in this field?
Oh, I mean, like, I started with writing and like I was writing about
Mhm.
sex stuff because like I worked at like Daily first and then I worked at Thrillist
Mhm.
as their sex columnist. And like, I mean, writing about sex was like always kind of like my vocation. I was like very obsessed with sexuality because I was like always
Mhm.
really slutty. And I was like, I'm always been like a massive oversharer. I come from just like a long line of like women in my family who are like so outgoing and just like massive oversharers and like just like love talking about sex and like are all really horny. So and I've never always been really shameless because like my parents are really supportive. I guess it's kind of where it came from. And I was always like, I'm one of
Mm.
five siblings, and I always like to stand out. My like personality was to be like the crazy one, like the
Yeah.
one who's like, I'm here, like I like, and that was kind of my vibe.
Yeah.
So I always kind of came from that place. So I was like, oh, like I can write on the internet because like I don't care about this kind of like notoriety because like I don't give a shit.
Well, so then how did that how did that influence the infamous Teen Vogue article?
Well, that's the thing. That's where I was about to go. So like then I like
Well, let's
again.
pause and tell everybody what we're talking about here because
Oh
they
yeah,
know.
I'm gonna give the whole
Okay, good.
story on what happened there. So like I like start my freelance career and I'm like, okay, here I go, like writing all these articles, whatever. And I at this point, like I wasn't certified in sex education yet because I don't even think I really knew what that meant. I
Right.
was just like, oh, I'm a sex educator because I write about sex. So I was definitely calling myself a sex educator when I was more just like bootleg internet sex educator. So like,
Sex
sorry,
enthusiast.
yeah, I was like a sex enthusiast who like didn't know the difference. So like lay sorry to everyone out there who may have been impacted by myself calling myself that. Like I did my best. So like so I wrote this article. It was like not even my idea, the topic. I mean, I've written a million things about anal sex, so this didn't seem like a big deal to me. Like, I guess it was because I was like new to freelance and didn't really understand the Teen Vogue audience that well. So like I didn't realize this was going to be I didn't realize it was going to be so controversial. I stand by the article. I think it's very informative.
Yeah. Oh,
And
I was gonna
like
post it in the links here.
yeah, I mean, please do. Like
Yeah, share it
I
again.
love every once in a while it starts getting viral again and people start losing their minds again as if it were new. And I'm like, yes, give me those followers. You follow my stuff. You hate on me. I don't give a shit. So like, yeah, it's like I'm great. Every time I see someone repost it, I'm like, it's coming again.
It's coming again.
So that was the moment though. So like, so I write the article about anal sex and I'm thinking it's this like I've written some controversial stuff for them before and I'm thinking it's just going to be like every other article, like you never really know what's going to happen. So I write this like it's just a basic explainer about anal. It is like it's not being like go out and have anal. It
Exactly.
Nothing about like anal sex positions. It's just basically like this is what it is. This is how it works.
It was basic information.
Yeah, just very, very like
wasn't a how-to.
Yeah, there were like scientific diagrams. Like it was very much just like this is a reality that and people have anal sex. So like this is what you should probably know about it. Because otherwise, what are they're gonna literally Google anal, and then guess what they're gonna see first when they do that? Not exactly informative.
The stuff you can't unsee.
Yeah, but that was like that's the backlash, right? Is like people being like, oh, like I have to freak out because the alternative would be acknowledging that my kids are sexual. Mm-hmm. So like I totally got that part. Yeah. So I'd had like people freak out about articles before, but this was the first time it was like a frickin' shit show. And like it was I'd never experienced anything like this before. And I have never experienced anything this bad since. It was just like there was like a public book burning of this anal sex article, even though it wasn't even in print. My original
I was gonna say, how did they do that?
Like truly like my reaction when someone showed me the video like wasn't like, oh my God, I can't believe that happened. I just went, oh my God, she thought I was in print. Like that was like I was like, cool. Like no, just no. I was like, I don't care. And but like the
Buy the
trolling,
book so you can burn it. So still
yeah,
a sale for me.
yes. I was like, oh my God, I bet Teen Vogue's, I was like, I should ask my editor how their sales went up. I bet they went up, their sales went up a bunch because of that. That's awesome.
Cha-ching.
So that's like, so that was kind of the moment where I was like, okay, like the one critique that I got on that article where I was like, okay, this is a very fair criticism, was like, you're calling yourself a sex educator, but you're not a sex educator. And I was like, you know what? That's fair.
Okay.
So yeah, so that was when I went
Okay.
and did like the program with Sex Coach U, and like
Yeah.
this like intensive program to be certified in sex education. And oh my God, I swear to God, I thought I was so fucking full of myself before I went into that program. I was like, I'm not gonna learn anything. It's just gonna be like a refresher of information. Like I can't wait to just like refresh my knowledge. And I was like, no, I didn't know shit. Like I was like, every single week I'd be like, and then I'd be reminded of the Teen Vogue article and be like,
wow. Yeah. Yeah.
so that was the thing. But at least, I mean, I think it's a great article, and it sparked me on the path of like better education, which is like, you know, good stuff.
Well, so that was, was that book or was that article? It was what, 2017?
Yep.
Was that what led to the book deal?
I already had the book deal,
Oh, nice.
but it was like, I think it was really like what propelled the whole sex education portion of it, I would say. Like all of that was a catalyst to be like, because it was such a wake up call for me, because all these trolls and people who were freaking out about it, like their goal was to like shame me into silence. Like meanwhile, it was the exact opposite effect. And I was like, oh, what I do is actually really important. And if anything, I need to just keep trudging on and keep doing. Yeah, exactly. Just keep going.
That's amazing. So that was the bad that came out of the article. What were some of the good things?
I mean, the good things were that it was like, it put me right on the map. Like
True.
Yeah. And also it opened a lot of doors for conversations around practical sex education. And a thing that was amazing was like, I was a freelancer, so it would have been really easy for Phil Picardi and Vera Papasova, like from Teen Vogue and the Condé Nast team, to like throw me under the bus and been like, oh, we didn't sanction this, or like, but they like straight up stood behind me. Like Phil did a ton of interviews being like, queer kids have sex, they deserve sex education, all kids deserve sex education.
Amazing.
And it was like really awesome to like to feel validated that way. And to also to the fact that so many people, and so many think pieces came out of it.
Yeah.
I'm like, even though all these like, conservative moms were having a mental breakdown over this article, like freaking out. I was like, I know you're freaking out, and I know your kids are reading that article and they're learning something.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, chances are those moms probably could have learned something too.
Oh my God, 100%.
All right. So let's talk a little bit about the importance of being alone.
Mm-hmm.
What do you, I mean, I have the 4 steps here, but how do you want to tell
I don't have
the audience about that?
I don't have my 4 steps in front of me, but at the moment,
invest in friendships.
Oh yeah, invest in so like basically like the whole concept of like the importance of being alone is not relying on another person to be the source of your happiness, and like living within your own truth, within your own joy, and like investing in things that don't require like romantic validation. And kind of the roots of that being like the way that women and people raised female are taught to value themselves is through romantic partnerships, is through if someone wants to date you or not, like is entirely through like your value as a commodity to another person, specifically to men. And so the point of being alone is to like cultivate your personality, your relationship with yourself, because like at the end of the day, like you come into this world alone and you leave alone.
Yeah. So yeah, it makes a whole lot of difference to spend some time alone, especially when you may not even know what you like or what you want, right? And it's really easy to get wrapped up in, oh, I'll just do what he or they want, right? I'll just do what this other person wants, because I don't want to rock the boat, or I don't want to cause any problems.
We're told like we're going to be it's terrible to be alone. We're petrified of being alone because we're told that makes us bad or unlovable or unwanted. When really it's like being told, doing something because someone told you that that's the life you're supposed to want,
Mm-hmm.
or even when it comes to like certain relationship styles, like whether it be monogamy, non-monogamy,
Mm-hmm.
having a partner, not having a partner, being like, if you're asexual, like not wanting to have sex with people, like
Mm-hmm.
it's all, what it all comes down to is like living your truth and living
Mm-hmm.
your true authentic self. Because like when you
Mm-hmm.
start living inauthentically, that's when you start to have true existential guilt and
Mm-hmm.
becoming like completely unsatisfied with how you lived your life.
Yeah. Yeah, right on. And that spending that time figuring out yourself
Mhm.
is, yeah, it you have something to share with another person if that's where you choose to go, right?
Exactly. It's like when you come into a relationship with somebody, you should be coming as a completely, I mean, no one's ever fully self-actualized or a full whole human being, but
Right.
you should like have a good idea of who you are and what you want and what your goals are in life so that you can bring your full authentic self to a relationship. Because like
Yeah.
we're not living in the olden days where like you're expected to just be like a wife and mother. Like you come into this shit
Mm-hmm.
now as a partner, and
Mm-hmm.
you should expect to be yourself, who you want to date you. That's how
Right.
you get the person you want or people
Yeah.
you want.
Yeah. There was a moment for me where it seemed like I would just take whatever was next coming along, right? I didn't really think about how it would fit in my life or whatever. I would just sort of like try to fit the shoe. But I
Mm-hmm.
spent some time figuring out what it was I really wanted. It was almost like, people do goal setting at the beginning of a year
Mm-hmm.
where they're like, okay, this is what I want to achieve this year, and these are the steps I'll need to do it. It's kind of the same thing, I think, with dating. You have to have kind of an idea of where you're going. Otherwise, whatever comes along might just be, oh, I'll just make this fit.
Yeah, and having that time, like that's time to actually work on yourself, like helps you set the standards higher for yourself. Because like otherwise, like life just becomes like that. I don't know if you've seen that meme where it's like every girl I know like has 3 jobs, does yoga, is
Mm-hmm.
in therapy, like is working a side hustle. Then it's like her boyfriend tried to make a reservation one time, but the place was closed.
I haven't seen that meme, but that's really funny.
It's like I was like, yeah, that's like so many women that I
Accurate.
know. And
Accurate.
that's like we don't have to settle for that shit. That's the thing. It's like the only reason it's like we're settling because people settle because they think they have to, and like you don't.
Right.
That's the secret nobody wants you to know. You don't.
Yeah. Yeah, it's like a collective agreement that we're not going to settle for this stuff. I mean, who benefits, right?
Yeah.
Who's the one
Nobody
who
benefits from
benefits?
that.
Well, the other
Well, I
person.
mean, yeah, it's like, yeah, but it's like, dude, at the end of the day, like, or like, if you can't even have a conversation with the person that you're in a relationship with, or you are finding all of your fulfillment out of your friends and you don't have a partnership with them. And then, like, those friends, speaking from like, if you're like in a heterosexual, like in the male's perspective, and then your friends go off and they get married and they have kids and they have their own lives, and then you're faced with like actually spending time with your spouse who you don't really like that much.
Yeah.
Like, how do you actually end up winning in that situation?
Yeah. Ooh. Yeah. And so, how do we make sure that kids get that information so they can make those healthy decisions or decisions that are good for them, so they don't get stuck into these relationships? What you just said reminded me of a conversation. I think she was in middle school at the time, and I said, "What do you notice about kids at school and relationships?" And she said, "I notice a lot of people getting into this is like 7th or 8th grade. I notice a lot of kids getting into relationships and they don't even really like the other person." It's
Yeah,
like,
because it's like you're not cool unless you have a boyfriend or a girlfriend, because that's like the whole.
right.
I can't. It makes me upset that that's still a mentality. I
It's
always
still
want to like
there.
pretend that it's like that they've evolved, but they haven't. Ugh.
I know. I know. Okay. So, where can people find you on the internet?
I am everywhere. You can find me on Instagram. I'm like, I'm everywhere. Oh. Um, you can find me on Instagram and Twitter. I'm Gigi Engle on both of those. And then I'm Gigi Engle Writer on Facebook. And my website is missgigiangle.com. And on my website, you can find all my social media and my blog, which I update twice a week, including like weekly reads, which are a roundup of all of my favorite sex stories from that week's.
Okay.
That week's poll, my favorite curated stuff. And yeah, that's where you can find me. And buy my book, All the Fucking Mistakes. You can get it preferably from like an indie bookstore, but considering it's COVID, like Amazon is just fine. You
Yeah.
just do your thing.
I almost forgot. I have 2 questions I want to ask at the end here.
Go
What's your
ahead.
favorite toy or device?
My favorite toy, I have 2 favorite toys actually. Like, and it's hard for me to pick because like I swap between. I'm also bisexual, and like it kind of goes. I think of it as my sexuality, where sometimes I think I'm fully gay, and then sometimes I think I'm fully straight. So it's how I feel about these 2 toys. The womanizer and the lay wand vibrator, the full sized one, that big old
Yeah.
monster vibrator.
Yeah.
The womanizer specifically because it mimics oral sex, which I'm obsessed with. It took a little bit of getting used to for me. Like you put it over your clit, and then all of a sudden it's like, ooh, I'm having an orgasm, and it's like exactly, and it's making that sound, and you're like, is this supposed to be doing that? And all of a sudden you're like, ah, I'm orgasming. It's a very
So
interesting.
true.
It's so true. It's like I call it my 60-second orgasm machine because I'm like, oh, I need to go to bed. Pop, done, going to sleep. And then my wand vibrator is like, I'm obsessed with it because it's like so good for partner play because like my husband's a big man. Like he's 6'2" and like 250 pounds. So like maneuvering toys around him is hard. And this big old wand vibrator, I got 2 hands on it. And it's like, it's not going anywhere.
Okay. That's a good one. A little wand is a good one too. But I know what you mean about the womanizer. My favorite is the satisfier. Same thing.
Same principle.
Right? Yeah.
Same principle.
Okay. And the last question.
Yes.
What do you wish your mom or dad told you about sex?
I mean, honestly, my mom told me like I wish my mom had told me where my clitoris was. She was so sex positive and so awesome and was very like she caught me masturbating for the first time when I was like 5, and she didn't say it was bad or anything. She was just like, "Oh, sweetie, like that's private behavior," and like never was really shameful around it. But she was also dealing with the very strict Catholic mother from her past, and so she didn't. I don't even think she really understood what a clitoris was. I had to explain to her the difference between a vulva and a vagina. Like she didn't know.
Yeah.
So I wish that she had taught me what a clitoris was, so I could have taught all my friends when we were like 12.
That's valuable advice.
It's not like our health teacher was going to do it.
Yeah, that part gets skipped in health class. Okay. So thank you again. Thanks for joining me.
Thank you for having me and for dealing with this way I've presented myself, which I really did think was going to be cute.
No, it's fabulous. It's fabulous. I'm all washed out because I got this ring light in front of me and it's like way too bright. I see.
Oh my God, are you kidding? You look so dewy and radiant. I'm like,
it's that. Okay. Well, thank you again. I will post the link again of the Teen Vogue article so we can get that going again.
Yeah, get those people back on the Teen Vogue thing. I love the hate from it. I live for it.
It's like, it's like all those Hollywood instances of there's no such thing as bad press, right? Like,
amen, sister. That's what I always say.
All right. Thank you again.
Thank you.
We'll talk later.
Bye.
Bye.